Tourette's podcast is not a medical advice show. It's a show about experiences. In the course of that, we may talk about medications or therapies or stories from the doctor's office, but don't mistake any of that for medical advice or direction. It's not. Get that only from people or places licensed or certified to give it, not from a massively fun and action-packed podcast about our life experiences, such as.
And I let her be her. I let her be herself. A lot of other people, they be like, you're letting her talk like that, or you're letting... Man, listen, she has Tourette's. I'm constantly saying this.
This is Tourette's podcast, made possible with support of the Tourette Association of America and part of the Geeks Rising Network. Hey everybody, it's Ben. I want to give a huge thanks to everyone who participated in the virtual Teen Summit. That was so much fun. A big group of teens tuned in for this. I was one of the presenters along with much more qualified professionals like Dr. Ken Phelps, who had a great presentation on resiliency, Dr. Shannon Bennett talking about coping with OCD in tough times, and of course we heard from who I would say are the most qualified people for a teen summit, being teens themselves. It was all about being young with Tourette syndrome and how to navigate it, what to do about it. And I think this is okay for me to do since it was a free event. I do have a recording, an audio recording of my part of it, and I did it in the style of a podcast. That's kind of how I set the whole thing up. I gave remarks, and then I talked with teenagers, answering questions, and so on. It's about an hour long. Since it's a Zoom recording, it's not the best audio quality. I should have recorded it from my end, but you can still make out what we're saying. I mean, the substance is still there on the subject of disclosure and self-advocacy and actually feeling good about having Tourette by pairing vulnerability with access to community. Teenagers have a lot of advantages these days that I didn't have when I was a teenager, at least not in the same way. With access to community, bottom line, it's a good time to have Tourette syndrome. Doesn't mean there aren't hard times. Everybody has hard times, but it does mean good times too. The Tourette Association put all this together, the Teen Summit. So if this is something you'd like to hear, my remarks during the Teen Summit, let me know and I'll upload it as sort of like a bonus episode of Tourette's podcast. And you can get it the same way you got this episode, if you request that I do so. And the only reason I'm saying that is the hosting site where I upload episodes to the podcast, they give me like a finite amount of upload space per month. So if I use it, I just want to make sure it's something that you're looking for. I'm totally happy to upload it. And I want you to hear it. And I will totally use that space on the upload site if that's something you want. So let me know. tourettespodcast@gmail.com. Shout out to a listener named Stacy who, I don't have any of those at-home devices like, Alexa and so on. And so I didn't know that you could just say, and I hope me saying this doesn't cue your device into something, but anyway, Stacy said that she found Tourette's podcast by asking her Alexa to play a podcast about Tourette syndrome, and it brought this one right up, which is cool to know. Thanks, Stacy, for making me aware of that. I want to give a big thanks to Brett Ahrens. I hope I'm pronouncing the last name correctly. Brett is the newest of our executive producers, joining people who are giving support to the podcast at patreon.com/Tourette's podcast. You can too, if you think this podcast is worth it, or if it's given you any companionship or community or perspective, any help along the way. It's completely optional. You don't have to, if you do want to chip in, it can be a very small amount. Buy the host coffee from a locally owned business in the burgeoning small town I live in, or whatever. Let me know if I'm allowed to thank you publicly here. If you do give support, I prefer to do that, to thank you openly. Thanks, Brett. Looking forward to talking with you more. New members at the Tourette's Podcast discussion group, a community unto itself, include Daniel, David, Haley, Claire, John, Jackie, Mary, McAllen, and Katie. Hope I didn't leave anybody out this week. Along with a bunch of drawings of cats from Chris Muty in the UK that he's been posting, like legitimately good and interesting drawings, by the way. That's at the Tourette's Podcast discussion group. Thanks everybody who's joined up. The group is run by the amazing and wonderful Sophia, who also lives out in the UK. I don't know why I say out in the UK, because that's just a reference to where I'm sitting right now. If you're in the UK, you're not out there. Anyway, Tell her thank you. Tell Sophia thank you whenever you get a chance. Coming up on January 20th from the Tourette Association of America, the primary sponsor of this podcast, they'll have a live Zoom discussion just for dads. That's the name of it, Just for Dads, a discussion on Tourette syndrome and parenting. It's going to be led by Paul Raleigh, Mark Schmidt, PhD, and Keith Kaufman, MD. They're all dads. They all have kids with TS in the range of 5 to 23 years old, and they'll share their experiences on navigating fatherhood with TS. So that's a Zoom chat called Just for Dads. That's January 20th. Just go to tourette.org, click Attend an Event, and you'll see it there. And you can even ask questions ahead of time that they can get to during the Zoom call. You'll see a place to leave your questions there with the registration. Tourette.org, click Attend an Event. All right, let's get to the conversation this week. This one's a treat. And just to set the tone, listen to this.
1, 2, 3, in the squatting on the block. Listen, find a way, no cussing. Baby girl, I got Tourette's. Tourette's don't stop me, no pushing. Hushing, pushing. Look, 1, 2, 3, let go. 1, 2, 3, let go. Let go, let go. Listen, my name baby lead dog. 1, 2, 3, don't ask me though. Baby girl, you don't ask slow. Listen, I know all my family watching, cause I love them so much. I never gonna quit, I never quit on my family though. I'm gonna do everything for them. No, those, ones of these, poetry. No, me going back on you, baby.
This is my new favorite rapper. Look out for her. Her name is Ky'lee Da Kid. Kylie's 8 years old. You probably caught the lyric that she has Tourette, but it doesn't slow her down. By the way, that wasn't just her rapping. She was freestyling, just coming up with stuff and staying on rhythm. She can think ahead, and she can know what she's going to say next while saying what she's going to say now, if you follow me. Kylie's freestyling is better than my talking. She's super creative and smart, but she's living in an area where there's just not much of any awareness. She and her family do everything they can to make people aware of Kylie's tics and coprolalia and where it comes from and everything else that can come along with Tourette syndrome. So they don't have to keep repeating themselves again and again to try to hammer home what she's doing. So she doesn't keep getting accused of simply acting out or misbehaving or trying to get attention. By contrast, think of what a totally supportive and understanding environment could do for Ky'lee and her sense of creativity and energy to do this kind of thing. So she can be herself and really spread her wings. And I mean that, kind of out in the greater world. At home, she has an amazing advocate in her mom, whose name is Sparkle. Sparkle, by the way, completely understands the role of creativity and expression in the lives of people with TS, but not stopping there. I mean, it's important to everybody, in Sparkle's own life too. And she's actually doing work with that focus, like important work. You'll hear about it. I called up Sparkle and Ky'lee the other night to talk to them both, and here's that conversation. And yeah, you'll get to hear more freestyling from Ky'lee. Enjoy.
Hello?
Hey, it's Ben with the podcast.
Hi, Ben. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm doing good.
So yeah, I really appreciate you doing this. This is going to be fun.
I definitely appreciate you giving us the opportunity. Kylie's excited.
Who do I have on the line right now?
This is Sparkle from Sacramento.
And who else do we have here?
Oh, Miss Ky'lee. Say hi, Ky'lee. Hi.
Ky'lee, really appreciate you joining us. I've been looking forward to this. And, one thing, I guess, for the people listening, Sparkle's an amazing mom. In the little bits of interaction that we've had on social media, I've learned that, you've got the challenge of there not being too much awareness or advocacy going on where you live. But
Right.
But I also know that you guys are up to the challenge and, you want to make sure Ky'lee has the opportunities that she deserves.
Definitely.
So, seriously, big applause to you because it can be a frustrating thing and it can feel isolating, but, when it comes to your child, it's not negotiable. So I really applaud the advocacy that you've taken on. Could you kind of, I guess, paint a picture of what things are like in terms of interactions, awareness? I mean, do people seem oblivious to what Tourette is? I mean, just kind of how does that go out there?
Yeah, nobody really. It's only a few that know what Tourette's is, or say, "Oh, I've seen it before," or, you know. But mostly everyone's like, "Oh, I've never seen anyone with Tourette's." When she first started getting signs of it, we didn't know what it was. We never seen anyone with Tourette's. So,
how old is Ky'lee now?
She's 8.
She's 8. Okay. So when did the tics and the symptoms first start to appear?
Around 5.
Okay. Yeah, that's about the same age for me. I was like 5 or 6 when I got diagnosed.
Yeah. She actually didn't get diagnosed till she was about 7.
Okay, so it was some like exploration before the diagnosis.
Yeah, I didn't know what it was, and you know, my other kids, they were like, why she keep doing those, those movements and those sounds and stuff. So I asked the doctor, and the doctor referred me to a neurologist, and it just went from there.
What were the first tics like?
Just small, not really noticeable, little twitches, her eyes, and little sounds, but we noticed them, and I was like, okay. Then it just started getting worse. And they started changing, it started changing week to week, it would be different things.
Huh, okay.
Different tics, you know what I mean? 1 minute she would have make these breathing sounds. She's breathing real hard like she can't breathe, and then sometimes she had these stuttering tics, and where she couldn't talk, she was just repeating everything everyone was saying. Then she has coprolalia really bad, and sometimes it gets to where that's all she's saying. She's just cursing, and it just doesn't stop, and then it'll stop. They change. It's crazy, but I've just been watching it, me and my other kids, and we just roll with the punches.
What were your first impressions when this started showing up? I mean, were you aware of what Tourette syndrome was, and do you think it might have been that, or was it entirely new?
I wasn't aware at all of Tourette syndrome. I was just like, it's something going on with her. And once the doctor said something about Tourette, about her continuing tics, I started studying it, and I was like, okay, yeah, that's exactly what she has. Because I just started watching everything she's doing, how they switch, and she has the dissociative personality disorder as well. She has most of them.
Did this kind of stun you when you were learning about this? Or, because sometimes having the knowledge of it can kind of feel good because you at least have an answer, but it can also be kind of anxious and kind of off-putting.
It was overwhelming. It was very overwhelming because of just the information, and then seeing her just going through this stuff every day, every night. It was hurting her. She was having really bad motor tics. Her body was jerking. It was like she was having seizures. She couldn't sleep. It was just bad.
I mean, that sounds just like me when I was about that age. I mean, I did most of those things, and sleep just wasn't happening. I was keeping my parents up all night.
Yeah. But she was having seizures. She would scream at the top of her lungs something was shocking her.
Wow.
She had a voltage around her head, and someone was shocking her whole body.
Oh,
she would scream at the top of her lungs, and her whole body would tense up really bad all the way down to her toes.
Wow. So, was she seeing that, would be off-putting? Was she also expressing pain or displeasure with it?
Definitely. She was in a lot of pain. And she would cry and just say how much it hurts, and she just wants it to stop. And
wow,
yeah, it's heartbreaking just to see a child go through that, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, but that's definitely where the awareness piece and the advocacy that's where that comes in to at least try to make the environment. The goal, I think, for a lot of people is if you have these involuntary factors in your lives like tics. You at least want your environment to be supportive and, and forgiving. And and spreading the word. I learned about you through Miles Walker, who, just day in and day out, he's just advocating and making sure everybody knows.
Yeah.
Like everybody in his neighborhood knows who he is and what he has. They're educated about Tourette syndrome, and he makes sure that they know. And so the environment, is, they get it. They at least get it.
I definitely, I reached out to him because I seen some of his videos, and I looked up to it. I admired, what he was doing, his courageousness as far as going out there and just like, this is me, it is what it is.
Yeah.
So, Ky'lee's the same way. She gets in a lot of fights, but she's just like, this is me, and I'm not gonna let nobody talk about me.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna let nobody bully me. She does not like that, and she's a brave kid, and she wants to bring awareness through her rapping. She raps, she freestyles, and that's part of her therapy. She doesn't do her tics at all while she's rapping.
That's
she goes off the top of her head, just everything that just comes to her mind. With Tourette's, they say your mind's racing and things like that.
Yeah. That's
the perfect thing for her. That's the perfect outlet for her.
So the more I do this podcast and the more I talk with people who have Tourette syndrome, and I personally relate to it too, is the creativity angle and the fact that you can kind of like visualize things in front of you without really having to structure them out. So if she's freestyling and things are just kind of coming to her head, she can probably think way ahead of the game. And that's just such a recurring thing in the Tourette community, and people describe it like a superpower. And
it is. I told her she has superpowers, and my baby used to cry to me and say, why did God do this to me, Mom? And I said, you don't cry about that. God gave you special powers. Not everybody has.
Yeah.
Like she's super fast. She's super strong. She's super talented.
It's almost like, like you're just kind of, you could be perfectly healthy and kind of straight up the middle, or you can be kind of like nudged to the side a little bit, where something about you is a little bit irregular, but on that side of that line is something extra that you get or something special that comes with it. It's almost like something you can be proud to have for those reasons. It's like, and also the struggle can kind of help to kind of shape you and prepare you for adversity. And, it's tough and it's a struggle, but it's not all bad.
Yeah, she did deal with a lot of that when she first got diagnosed with Tourette. She dealt with like a lot of adversity at school.
Yeah.
With the teachers and the principal, they were thinking she's doing everything on purpose. She was getting suspended. It was hard.
Does she have one of those individualized education plans or a 504 plan, or is she just?
Yeah, she does. She does. But still, we were still having issues with them, just their treatment with her, and just feeling like, oh, she's still doing this on purpose. That's not her Tourette's, or like you guys aren't even educated on it.
Yeah.
Like she's running out of the class and she's getting angry. She has anxiety. She can't be around everybody. She starts ticking and they're looking at her like that's just how she is. Like she can't help that. So it was just a lot. She'd be crying. Her teacher would ask her, "Did you take your medication today?" And it was just they would just say things to her that that were embarrassing, and it was just a lot.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely not the way to do it. And I know the education piece is also kind of a constant struggle because it takes just repetition, and then people doubt you, and you have to just keep pushing through it. Is it taking it all? I mean, or do they seem to be learning about it?
No. Now that we're distance learning, so I guess I gave them a lot of slack to where they didn't have to do the work that they needed to do.
Yeah.
But basically, Ky'lee I'm teaching her, basically, just to be honest. Yeah. I'm teaching her.
Can I ask Ky'lee a question?
Hi.
Hey, Ky'lee. So, we've been talking about school and everything. How do you feel when you're I know you're probably doing the distance learning thing right now and school from home, but when you're at school, do you feel like people understand you?
No.
What are they getting wrong about you?
I keep on telling them I got Tourette's and I can't help it. But then they keep on saying they don't know what it is. It's hard for me to explain it to them.
Yeah. Are there certain ways that you've tried to explain it? Like one way that I try to explain it to people is like, it's like almost like a hiccup. You can't hold it back, or it's like you have to blink. Like try to hold your eyes open and not blink. Like it's impossible. You're gonna have to blink at some point. Like that's kind of like what tics are like to me. That's how they feel to me. Do they feel like that to you?
I can't hold it in when I
can't hold it in.
And
what about other kids your age? Do they seem to understand you?
No.
What do they think? Do they say certain things to you?
Yeah, they make fun of me.
But you stand up for yourself. It sounds like. I mean, do you try to educate them?
Kind of.
Yeah.
Tell them what you do when they say, "Why are you doing that? What happens? What usually happens?"
What happens when they tell me that?
Like when it's like you cuss or something, and the kids they get mad at you. What do you tell them?
I'm telling them I'm sorry and I can't help it. It's Tourette.
And what they say?
They say, what is Tourette? And I say, I didn't really take and you can't help it.
Well, one thing I think's pretty important is that because they know you and they've heard of Tourette syndrome through you, they're probably going to meet somebody else at some point in their life who also has it. Because, there's 1 million people out there, literally in the US, there's 1 million people who have it. And they're going to understand, even if they don't seem to understand you now, they're going to understand other people better at some point in their lives because they know you. And I think you're setting a really good example for Tourette syndrome, just because you try to educate them, and even if it seems like they don't get it now, I promise later in their life, for one, they're going to regret making fun of you. Everybody regrets it when they get older. But when they meet other people who have it, they're going to understand a little bit better, that they'll remember you as their frame of reference. And so you are helping to educate them. Like you are making a positive impact, even if it seems like, even if it seems like they just don't get it now. I promise you are doing a good thing. Like you're making a really positive impact. And so your mom said you like to freestyle?
Yeah.
How did you pick up freestyling?
When I saw my brothers rapping, then I wanted to join them. And then I started practicing.
Is there any way I could get you to freestyle?
You want to put on the beat?
I would love to hear it.
Yep, on TV.
Come bring a beat, Rick. We got to find her a beat.
Because this will make my day. This will make my month.
Come on. You got this. Hey. Tell your story. Go.
When I first got to it, then people ask like, why you doing that? If I said I can't help it, and they told the people that you can't help it. And it is playing it. And I said, okay. Now it's done. No one talking. Ooh.
Hey.
Walking on my shoes.
Hey.
That was awesome. I love that.
Thank you.
Seriously, that's the best thing I've heard all month.
Oh.
Ky'lee, thank you. That was awesome. Like really, that was so good.
Thanks.
So you were saying that like Tourette's doesn't have you?
She said, what you say? You got Tourette's. I got Tourette's, but Tourette's don't have me.
Yeah, I got Tourette's, but Tourette's don't have me.
The Tourette Association of America is the premier nonprofit working to raise awareness, advance research, and provide ongoing support to those with Tourette syndrome or tic disorder. With a network of over 130 chapters, support groups, and centers of excellence, the TAA engages with communities across the nation in an effort to provide tools, webinars, workshops, and support for all seeking assistance. As a primary sponsor of Tourette's podcast, the TAA supports the authentic conversations showcasing the diverse representation of the TS community. To learn more, visit tourette.org, tourette.org.
Is this something that you want to keep doing, Ky'lee? Do you want to get into music and what do you like to do? Is music a big thing for you?
Music.
Yeah. Do you like art? Do you like to draw or paint or anything like that?
Play the keyboard and draw.
Nice. Because a lot of people with Tourette are really creative like that. And when your mom was saying superpower, she's not kidding. It really is a superpower.
Right, sir?
It's a really special thing to have Tourette syndrome, because just all the things that come with it, the way your brain works, it can be difficult, but you get all kinds of special powers with it. And I love it that you're able to freestyle with it. That's so awesome.
Yeah. And how old are you, Ben?
I'm 40 now.
He's 40 and he has Tourette since he was 5 years old too.
Mm-hmm.
You have any questions for him about his Tourette?
What did he tell you when you had Tourette?
So when I was younger, people would, they would look at me tick. I would have these ticks where I kind of jerked my head and I would blink, or I would kind of widen my eyes and kind of look around in kind of a weird way. Or I would jerk my muscles. And anytime kids at school saw me do that, they would just they would mock it. They would kind of copycat it and do the same thing, hoping that I would see it, because they wanted to get to me,
Yeah. That's what they did to her too.
Yeah, it's everything that's happened to you, Ky'lee, has happened to me. And but I promise, it totally gets better, especially when people really start to notice your talents, your creativity, your talents. People are going to start seeing that first. Tourette being something that's really difficult to control. You can't hold it in. You're going to be ticking, and that's what a lot of people see first. But eventually, people are going to start seeing the creativity. They're going to start seeing the talents, and that's going to stand out. And so you're not just going to be the person who has Tourette's at school. You're going to be seen as the creative person. I think that helps for people to see Tourette syndrome in a different way, because once they start seeing you for the creative person that you are, they usually end up thinking differently about Tourette's and what it means for people. And so I'm really proud that you're doing what you're doing, because it's going to help people understand what this is a lot better. And I think you're just setting a really great example. I think that's so awesome.
Thank you.
So what grade are you in now?
Second.
Second grade. Okay. Yeah.
Second.
That was one of the toughest years for me, and things slowly started to get better after that. But I remember second grade. That was a tough time for me. And a lot of other people who I talk to on the podcast who have Tourette's, it's pretty similar. Things that parents go through to try to get you what you need, and it totally gets better. And Sparkle, I'll ask you, what are the questions that you still have? I know there's a million challenges, but what really stands out to you right now that you kind of want to accomplish for Ky'lee? Because I guarantee you other parents listening are going to relate to it.
Just bringing awareness so she can be comfortable around other kids and other adults, because I don't want her to feel like she's a weird, she's strange or different, she's just like everyone else. There's nothing wrong with her. She just, her brain just moves a little different. Everyone's different. God made us all different. So I just want to bring more awareness to to everyone in the community that everyone's not the same, you know, that we all are different. And, you know, sometimes, you know, where we are, there's a lot of homeless people. There's a lot of people with mental disabilities around us. And it's like you know, some people might pass them by and be like, oh, that person's crazy. Oh, they crazy. They're on drugs or something. But you never know what's going on with that person. Like, they could have Tourette. And I never knew that. You know, I never knew a person just screaming or cursing, you know. And I've witnessed it firsthand with my daughter. You know, I've seen her rage attacks. I've seen her, like, turn into someone else, like, and I know her. So, like, she's a good kid. So, you know, who are we to judge somebody? You don't know what they're going through. So I just want to, you know, bring awareness. And, you know, a lot of kids are real difficult. Kids can be real harsh. They can be real mean. You know, I just want to bring awareness to these kids and just, be careful. And Ky'lee wants to do it through her music. And I feel like music is a good outlet, especially kids going through things. A lot of kids have mental disabilities that aren't really addressed, like ADHD or, you know, childhood traumas and things like that. I know because I've experienced these myself. And a lot of other kids I grew up with or watched grow up, and these kids need an outlet. They need something to express themselves. And I think music does that. And I feel like we could bring awareness through music, through her rapping and stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, that's dead on. I get really frustrated sometimes when I hear about, like, arts education getting cut in schools, like the budgets getting cut. And it's just, it's so important for so many people to have that outlet, not just people with Tourette syndrome, everybody, just to have that outlet, that point of expression, because it helps you, you know, you learn about yourself, you know?
Yeah. And it's healing. And I actually wanted to start a nonprofit. I'm actually in the process of doing that for kids, not just with disabilities, but kids that have, you know, suffered through any kind of, you know, childhood trauma or, you know, I grew up in the foster care system. There's so much stuff going on with kids that we don't know about. And I found my voice through writing poetry. And I started when I was 8 years old.
Oh,
so
nice.
There's so many outlets for these kids. My sons started rapping at 4. You know, so it's just like you see these kids and they have these talents and they're just so naturally creative. They just need an outlet. I got Ky'lee a keyboard, and she just started learning and making beats. And now she's learning how to beatbox. Like, you'd be surprised what triggers their brain. Yeah. You know, so I definitely, I want to bring awareness to all the kids and you know, through music. And that's something I want to do. I'm in the process of putting that together, a little nonprofit for the kids. And it's going to be called Gifted and Lifted.
Nice.
Because all these kids are gifted and they need to be lifted up. So.
Nice.
That's what we're doing, huh, Ky'lee?
That's awesome. What you said about, you know, her getting a keyboard and just kind of figuring it out on her own. I mean, that's something we also talked about in the last episode, and I'm sure plenty of times before this, where, like, with music in particular, I've played music my entire life. I started on violin when I was 5 years old, and then now I play, you know, all kinds of stuff. Guitar, bass, drums, piano, and I don't know how to read sheet music. I was never able to do it. I was never able to figure it out, but I can play by ear, so I can hear music and then I can pick up a guitar and know how to play it.
Yeah. You'd be surprised how the brain works. Ky'lee the same way. I was the same way. I couldn't read sheet music. I played the trumpet and the trombone, and Ky'lee, she can't even read or write yet. But she can rap. Like, she can come off of her head and formulate sentences and, you know, and ride the rhythm of the beat. It's amazing.
That's so cool. And having that sense of rhythm too is pretty special, especially if you're that young, you know, just to be able to hold a beat is a challenge for a lot of people.
Right.
You know?
It is. Did you see the video I sent you?
Yeah, it's amazing.
Did you see how she danced and she just rides and she just it's just she doesn't stop. It's just crazy, and I'm just amazed watching the video because I never really paid attention to it because she's always going live on my phone, and I just let her do what she's doing. She's bored. She's having fun.
Yeah.
But I sat there and I watched the whole video, and I was like, wow. And I was like, I have to share this with everybody because you listen to what she's saying. It's just she has a story to tell.
Yeah, I mean that's her language.
Yeah.
And her tics just kind of go away?
Yeah, she doesn't tick. Unless sometimes she'll tick when she speaks about her tics in her raps. I have a few videos of those. But other than that, she doesn't tick while she raps.
Well, I think it's amazing. The nonprofit idea is amazing, and I definitely applaud you for that. What you were saying about you can pass by somebody on the street and not really know what's going on with them.
Right.
The position that you guys are in, through the challenge that you have with Tourette and people not understanding you, and it really, and we talk about this all the time on the podcast, how it gives you this like really enhanced sense of empathy to where I think it helps you to know people a little bit better because you become more patient with people. You give them room to be themselves. You give them room to, if you don't know exactly what's going on with somebody, you don't just immediately write them off as crazy and I don't want to deal with it. That there's something there that might need a little bit of patience.
And we all have something going on with us.
Yeah.
Mentally, and I hate to say it, but I feel like we all have experienced some type of trauma, because I definitely have, and most of the people around me have, but I guess it's just the upbringing, we come from neighborhoods where there's gangs, there's violence, there's drugs, things like that. So,
yeah,
we have childhood traumas, and that affects us all differently. We have trauma from the police. We have trauma from the stuff that's going on in the world. It's so much stuff going on, and it's like we need to just heal each other instead of just, oh, there's something wrong with that person. Like, and then what gets me is they try to use medication to heal everything, to fix every problem, and that doesn't work. Medicine don't heal everything.
Especially not when it's being taken for the convenience of other people instead of her just being allowed to be her,
Yes, exactly. Let her, and you know what? I stopped giving her the medication because I don't want to change who she is. God gave her these gifts for a reason. I believe that wholeheartedly. So I'm not going to slow her brain down. I'm not going to, let her enjoy herself if she's not bothering anyone. It's just I watch who I take around, who I take her around, so she, people aren't, being mean to her and to where she has to fight. Because I've seen her erupt like on some kids, and you can't control it. Like that anger, once that anger comes out because they're teasing her and bullying her, and she wants to fight.
I was the same way. I was really combative when I was a kid, and I acted out a lot because I had this really frustrated feeling of being misunderstood. And anytime anybody tried to speak for me, it kind of upset me further because I thought they were getting it wrong too. And
she would get mad when I tried to say something, so it's just like I had to learn how to deal with it and to, just keep her to myself, and then let's just figure this out together,
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want her going off on people and they not understanding. And I'm trying to be like, hey, she has Tourette's, and she's like, Mom.
Right. Yeah, it's like, this is my story.
Yeah, it's a challenge, but I feel like, God gave us this challenge for a reason, and we're gonna make the best of it. She's a happy kid. Honestly, I think things have gotten better since we've been on quarantine and out of school,
Yeah.
So I feel like she's doing a lot better. And it'll be adjustment. I talk to her a lot, about trying to control her temper. If people don't understand, or people are looking at her, or, but other than that, she's pretty good as far as holding her own.
Well, I mean, one of the biggest assets that she has and advantages that she has is the fact that, you support and understand her, and you get her you get where she's coming from, and you've.
And I let her be her. I let her be herself. Like a lot of other people, they'd be like, "Oh, you're letting her talk like that, or you're letting." Man, listen.
Yeah.
She has Tourette's.
Yeah.
I'm constantly saying this over and over to people because honestly, no matter how much I say, they still don't understand what it is.
Yeah.
Like she has Tourette. She cannot help that. She curses. She gets mad. She yells. She sometimes she'll hit you. So like that's her, and I just let her be her. I don't get mad at her. I don't yell at her. None of that.
And not to wear out the subject of art and creativity, but you mentioned being in a neighborhood or being from an area where there are gangs. And before I did this podcast, I did another podcast about cities and just city life. And there was this program. There was in Raleigh, North Carolina. There was there's one neighborhood where the gang presence was so heavy, and a lot of the kids Ky'lee's age, they didn't want to be a part of that, and they needed sort of this access to creativity, and so they could make something that they themselves were proud of, that they could come up with on their own.
Right.
And so they started this program at the university. It was called Games Over Gangs, and they taught these kids how to code and develop video games. And their the assignment was to make a video game where you can express yourself and you can tell your story. And a lot of these kids made games based on real life experiences. You were talking about trauma.
Yeah.
Some of these kids had really, I hesitate to say some of this, but had real traumatic experiences very, very young. And they're able to kind of exercise it through their creativity.
Articulate it.
Yeah, exactly. Get it out in this game format where they could learn a life skill and they could express themselves, and they had a product at the end where they were really proud of it. And I interviewed all of them, and they were stoked and they felt great about it. There's so much power in that.
Yeah, because you never know what someone's going through, and that can change so many lives. I like that. That's dope.
Exactly, and that's why I say it's so powerful that she has you in her corner, because you get that aspect, like you understand it, and to the point where you're going to start a nonprofit. I mean, that's amazing. That's
definitely, because even though I don't have Tourette's or anything like that, I suffer from trauma as a child. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
I understand her on a different level. I understand other kids, and I had a teacher in my corner who showed me poetry. He showed me writing and music and art and things like that. So just that alone, it taught me that there's so many ways that we can express ourselves and we can tell our story, like you said, and we all have a story to tell. And you don't know who your story will touch or change or affect, so.
Yeah.
I also wrote a kid book, a coloring book. I haven't got it published yet, but I feel like through my writing I can make a lot of changes, because these kids need positive things to look at, positive things to listen to and to see, because there's so much negative in this world. Like,
yeah, if
we don't change it, there's nobody's going to change it.
Well, that's the thing about trauma too. I mean, a lot of things can become trauma, and when you've experienced trauma, it can go really bad for you in terms of the decisions that you make, or not even decisions that you make, but decisions that are made for you and what you have the ability to control, the opportunities that you have. There's a lot of work that comes with kind of nurturing yourself if you've experienced trauma. So, all the more just being in that position, but having the right opportunities and the right, outlets and people in your life. I mean, it's so massive. And I believe that too, that if there's that much sincerity in the poetry that you write and everything else, I mean, I think sometimes when you read fiction, or if you read poetry or anything dramatized, you can tell when it's kind of put on or when it's fake, because it just doesn't.
You can, yeah.
Yeah, it just doesn't have that sincere quality to it, and you can really tell when something's authentic. And if you're putting that stuff into your poetry, it's going to have more impact than something that's a little bit dramatized. You know, I can tell in the poetry that you write, that's coming through, the sincerity and authenticity. And that makes it, you know, something that's going to speak to other people who've been going through the same situations. I mean, it's so powerful how that can ripple out.
Right.
So you got the nonprofit projects, Ky'lee's got her freestyling. I mean, there's definitely positive things happening. You know, there's obviously challenges, but the positives are pretty prominent. Like, what else do you guys have going on?
I started a little clothing brand. It's called I Sparkle Supreme.
Nice.
And I started it like as a motivation to women and, you know, little girls and stuff, to let you know, like, no matter what you're going through, you sparkle. You're beautiful. Yeah. You shine. And, you know, even in the dark, even on your ugliest day, you shine. You know, I sparkle. I'm supreme. I am, you know. So I love it. I had came up with that, and I got my press machine and I've just been doing sweaters and shirts and stuff, and I just started that up and doing some stuff, and Ky'lee wants to start something up to bring awareness for Tourette. So that's something we're putting together now, and just see what we come up with.
Ky'lee should record something.
A song. Yeah. Well, that's in the making. We actually just came from the studio today, and we were just messing around, but she definitely is going to be making a few songs and some videos and all that. She said she wants to be famous. She wants to be on YouTube and, you know, bring awareness all over the world.
Well, yeah, I mean, there are some famous people with Tourette's. They've gotten there because of their skill.
No, I told her all she has to do is work hard. She has to be passionate about what she wants and, you know, just stay true to her vision. She said she wants to go on the Ellen DeGeneres show. She watches her, and you know, she always has a lot of kid performers. And she's like, Mom, I want to go on there, Mom. And I was like, you're going to get there one day, girl. You just keep doing what you're doing. Keep working hard and you know, and just being a good person, because she has such a good heart, and she's so sensitive and loving. Like, she loves older people and babies and animals, and, you know, she's such a giver. So, you know, I told her voice, you know, will touch the world. Just the message that she has, her stories that she wants to tell, and, you know, and her just talking about her Tourette's, because she's a strong little girl. All the things that she went through, like when she first started getting it, and it was, oh my goodness, it was hard for me to watch her go through that. So just to know that she was strong enough to go through that and still be running around, and, you know, when she wasn't, you know, during the day she's running around, but at nighttime she's battling with all these things, and she's such a strong spirit. Like, she would get up like nothing happened. I'm good. So I told her, you know, she's a warrior.
Well, she has that authenticity power too. Yeah.
She's real genuine. She's real blunt. She'll tell you how she feels. She'll, you know, she's real expressive.
Well, I mean, even though there are challenges ahead, you know, and everybody's got challenges. I mean, she has unique challenges, but I'm personally not worried about her outcome just because of the support system that she has.
You know, I don't want my baby to ever feel like she's alone or like no one understands her. I understand her. Her brothers, her sister, you know, we support her 100%. We let her be her. We laugh with her Tourette's. We you know, we talk mess about her Tourette's. Like, I'm gonna beat your Tourette's up. You know, we make it funny because she's just so funny. She'd be like, shut up. You know, like, there's nothing wrong with you. That's just you. You special, girl. Like,
yeah.
So, you know, she's comfortable, and, you know, we go out and around certain people, and they be like, oh, I don't see her Tourette's. And I'm like, well, she holds them in a lot when she's around people, you know. But, you know, they're there, and, you know, I tell her, you don't got to hold them in. You let your Tourette's go, girl. Oh, well, if they look at you funny, oh, well.
You know, I kind of want to give her the final word, is if there's anything that she wants to say, any shout outs she wants to give, or...
What about your Instagram? Don't you have an Instagram?
Yep, Ky'lee Da Kid.
Ky'lee Da Kid.
How do you spell that?
Ky'lee
Da Kid.
Kid. Yeah.
Can I follow you on Instagram?
Yeah.
Awesome.
And who else you want to say hi to, Miles? Say thank you, Miles.
Thank you, Miles.
Yeah. Let's definitely thank Miles. Because he's been introducing me to a lot of people, and I'm really grateful for that. I guess the bottom line is there's a lot of parents out there who are in the same situation as you, and there's a lot of kids out there in the same situation as Ky'lee. And, just hearing from other people they can relate to is just really important. So
definitely. And there's not like any resources out here for us. And even with the doctors, they're not helping. They're like Ky'lee's neurologist, all he did was prescribe her with medication.
Yeah.
He didn't teach me anything about Tourette's. I had to basically learn everything on my own. So it is hard, and you definitely have to be strong mentally to deal with it, because if you're not, oh my goodness, it's gonna, it'll drive you crazy trying to figure it out, and it'll stress you out.
Well, let me close with one more question. For any moms who were in the same place you were, say like 3 years ago, where these tics start to surface and you get the anxiety of wondering what it is, and you get the Tourette diagnosis. I mean, is there any advice or anything like that you have to comfort other parents who might be going through the same thing that you went through?
Just be patient, breathe. Just know that you're not failing as a mother because you can't change the situation. Just know that your child is happy that you are there, and just be supportive and loving. Hug them, rub them. Just tell them it's going to be okay. Hold them. Like, that's really what they need. Don't judge them. Don't ask them questions about can they stop, or, because that just makes it worse, and it makes them feel like it's something wrong with them because they can't stop it, So just know that you're doing what you're supposed to do. Just study up on it. Google. You can find everything basically through Google. And just be patient. Take time out to yourself when you can, and rejuvenate, and go back in there like the soldiers we are, because as mothers, we are soldiers. We have jobs, and we put on that cape, and we don't take it off. So definitely don't belittle yourself, and don't beat yourself up. Know that you're doing a good job. Just keep going.
Thanks so much. Thanks to Ky'lee Da Kid. Thanks to Sparkle. That was really fun. Obviously, they've got challenges, but, that ties in with what I was saying in the intro, that, they don't have to carry the weight alone. There's a million people. There's more than a million. People all over the world have their back. There's community. There's answers to questions. That's what the podcast discussion group on Facebook is all about. But that's not the only place to get it. You heard how you can follow them on Instagram at Ky'lee Da Kid. I'm serious that Ky'lee needs to record in a proper studio just to freestyle behind the mic. I mean, freestyling is really where I think that's the right place for an agile mind like hers. So I hope we can hear that at some point soon. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Feedback to tourettespodcast@gmail.com. If there's anybody else who freestyles and finds that as kind of a break from Tourette, or at least some kind of expression of it, let me know. tourettespodcast@gmail.com. And thanks to Miles Walker for connecting me with Sparkle and Ky'lee. That's going to do it for this week. Again, let me know if you want me to post the audio from my part of the Teen Summit. I'll put that up as a podcast, bonus episode. Join the Tourette's Podcast discussion group on Facebook. Thanks to Sophia for keeping everything going there. Go to tourette.org and click attend an event to see what's coming up that you can take part in. Remember, Just for Dads, it's January 20th. The Tourette Association of America is the primary sponsor of Tourette's Podcast, and they make it possible for the show to continue. Thanks to Brett Ahrens for his support of the show. Executive producer credit to him. I'll be in touch. Talk to you next week. This is Ben.